I've been waiting most of my career for this day, and I'm so grateful that you've joined me September the 19th, because today we welcome sales expert, sales guru, New York Times best-selling author, columnist, father extraordinaire, Grant Cardone is coming into the Moffett Message Live, and we are going to discuss how to change your life through sales. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I got acquainted with Grant Cardone and how Grant actually changed my life through sales as well. In 1999, I was in the car business. I'd been for about 3 years at that point. And I had seen Grant in his training session in Toronto. And I was mesmerized. He was talking about something that I had never seen before. It was called information-assisted selling. Now, this was long before the internet had caught fire, long before people were given information, could find information readily, and could go about their business of shopping online. You had to actually go into the retailer, talk to the salesperson. They were the keepers of the information and the knowledge, and quite often it was a bad experience. And Grant came to the table and talked about an entirely different process, one where we would give information, that we would give more than we needed to give, and we would do this at a level that was unseen before, and he called it information-assisted selling. And when I saw him do this, it totally changed everything for me. In fact, I thought to myself, how is it that this guy can do this and can totally revolutionize an industry? And I thought, this is a guy who I need to learn from. And so I started to buy some of his materials and learn from him. And then very shortly after that, near the end of 1999, he was in Oakville. And I thought to myself, okay, Oakville, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. And I thought to myself, I've got to see this guy again, because it just totally changed the way that I thought about sales and doing business. And so I went to this event, and once again, he delivered. Packed room, I think 500 people or something like this. Everybody's paying $500 a ticket to get in. It was just an extravaganza, and he literally sat at the front of this room with those overhead projectors. Here's Grant Cardone who's coming in now. Welcome, Grant Cardone.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm unbelievable, man. Thank you so much for being here. I was just telling the audience my story about how I came to find you, and you came in right on time, and it's fantastic. So
timing is everything, they say, Sean.
Well, your timing is perfect. So I don't know if you even know the story of how I met you, but let me share this with you. I was just talking about how you changed my life. In 1999, you were in Oakville, Ontario. And you did a session, your training session, your information-assisted selling, totally blew me away. I loved every second of it. And then you said at the end of the session, you said, I'm starting this new program about how to change your life, about living a successful life. And if you want to come back, there's no charge. Come back for the evening, and I'm going to do a free session on how to change your life.
Yeah, it was called Ideal Life. It was called
Ideal Life. That's right.
Yeah.
And I looked at my team and I said, we're coming back to this thing tonight, because if he's here, I'm here. And so we came back to Oakville, Ontario that night. And I remember why it changed my life, because you did this. And there was a lot of information, but I remember this like it was yesterday. You gave us a sheet of paper, and we had to draw our ideal life on the paper.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I literally stood there or sat there with the marker in my hand, looking at the sheet of paper thinking, I have no clue what my ideal life is. And this rush of I don't know if it was anger or sorrow or sadness or emptiness came over me, and I didn't know what to do with myself. It was like somebody had shot me right in the gut, because I didn't have a clue what my ideal life looked like. And you came over to me, you put your hand on my shoulder, you looked at my paper, and you said, man, you probably want to sort that out. And I said, yeah, I do. And I spent the next 10 years sorting what my ideal life would look like, would be. And that was the first time I met you. From there, I bought every book that you have. I bought every piece of information. Do you remember this one?
Oh, yeah.
That's the original old school version.
Yeah, but it shouldn't take 10 years, Sean. I just
Well, for some of us, we're slow learners, right?
Yeah.
And so I went through a lot of stuff like that, and I got to tell you, in 2009, right before Sabrina was born, you were back in Toronto. I saw you again there, just consistently over-delivering. And then we're going to go into, there she is right there. There she is right there. I think it was 2 days before she was born. You were in Toronto.
Uh-huh.
And I saw you there, and we'll continue the story from there. But thank you so much for being here, Grant. You are someone that I look to as a mentor, and you have absolutely changed my life. So right off the top, thank you very much for doing that.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. And you know, just imagine, you remind me of this ideal workshop. I was telling my wife this week, just what, 3 days ago? We're doing that ideal workshop, but spend 3 days. Imagine if we'd have spent 3 days together, Sean.
That would have been life altering and a change immediately. It wouldn't have taken 10 years. It would have taken 3 days, and it would have been over with.
Me and a buddy created that workshop years ago, and I haven't really done anything with it because I've been so busy. But me and my wife were talking about, hey, how can we do something on South Beach where we're living now, and spend 3 or 4 days, you know, with select people that are already winning, but that want to take their life to the next level and really want freedom, create freedom to spend time with their family and have the financial wherewithal to do what they want to do. So we're looking at possibly recreating that and doing that and doing it for select people, maybe keep it under like 20 people or so.
Well, you know, Grant, I think that will be an absolute win. Of course, you put your name on it. It's going to win regardless of what happens. But, you know, there is absolutely a need for that. And, you know, sign me up. I'd be on that list.
Okay.
Now, we want to talk about how to change your life through sales. And I know that sales has totally changed your life. You weren't always in sales, but now are the master of sales. And my audience, I'm sure, would love to hear from the master on how to change your life. And I wanted to start by talking about your book, The 10X Rule. When this book came out, I read it cover to cover the first time, and I read it literally every single month. But maybe you could tell the audience who doesn't know the 10X Rule, what is the 10X Rule?
Well, you know, Sean, these books, all those books that are in the background here have been written since the 2008 collapse, the economic contraction. Those books are really written, just so you know, one, there's no money in books. Guys don't write books to make money on books. So I'm not here to hype a book. I'm here to convince people of the solution. And those books, the first book was Sell or Be Sold. Then it was Closer Survival Guide, because these are separate topics. Selling is one thing, closing is another thing. They literally have nothing to do with one another. Just because I can dance doesn't mean I'm a ballerina. And that's you know, just because I can wrestle doesn't mean I could box. And just because I could fix a truck doesn't mean I can work on a new Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? So they're different, even though they're both cars, and in the same sector, selling and closing are completely different things. And I believe that many of the people that I've learned from, the Brian Tracy's, the Tom Hopkins, the Jackie Coopers, some of these, what's the other guy? I'm forgetting his name. He was the big insurance agent that was unbelievable. I believe that they were actually incorrect in mixing these two. The third book, called If You're Not First, You're Last, was how to prospect, how to get my pipeline full, because if you don't have a full pipeline, selling and closing doesn't matter. And this book that you asked me the question about, this is a long about answer. The 10X Rule is look, selling, closing, and prospecting don't matter if you're not taking the right amount of action. Now, these 4 books are basically discoveries that I'm having for myself and my company, because I was under a vicious attack, okay, due to the economy that was not of my making, but I was trying to figure out, oh my God, I literally watched 25 years of work just going down the drain. 25 years of money, savings, and I didn't do any of the dumb stuff that so many people did prior to that created the problem. And I've done dumb stuff in my life. I just didn't do that. I didn't participate in that stuff, like borrowing too much money. But regardless, the impact to the economy was so big that it was it froze all my real estate assets. And I was telling my wife, I'm going to write our way out of this. And I basically, in those 4 books, and particularly with the 10X Rule, that book is magical.
Yes, it is.
You know, that book is so magical that while it hasn't sold the most copies of my other books, probably because it hadn't been out long enough, we have gotten miraculous. I'm telling you, like mind-blowing comments from people that said that book changed their life and their company. And that book's about how to get your goals at the right place to where you're excited all the time.
Well, maybe you could talk a little bit about goals. You know, you do talk in the 10X rule about how to set them, and certainly goal achievement and goal target in sales is vital, because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know you know, maybe when you've arrived or how you've won. But is there a difference between setting targets and setting goals? And when you say goals, what do you mean specifically by setting big goals?
Well, first of all, I know somebody else set a target for me. So you see, the individual, you are the only one that knows what your potential is. And for a manager to set a target for me is a bit irresponsible on my part. So if Bobby's my manager and he's like, hey, your target this month is X. Well, he doesn't know what my potential is. I know what it is. My mom doesn't know, my dad doesn't know, my brothers, my manager, the President of the United States, he doesn't know what my potential is. He just thinks I need help. And what people need to do, most people are setting goals they're not even excited about. Most people are setting goals that, for instance, if I ask somebody, hey, how much money would be enough money? You're going to hear $1 million more often than not. I want to make $1 million. Well, I'm like, dude, what do you think your dad's goal was? Your dad's goal was to make $1 million, and that was 25 years ago. You're not even accounting for inflation. Particularly here in the U.S., the U.S. dollar has been destroyed. It's lost 20% of its value just in the last 3 years. So if you wanted to be a millionaire 3 years ago, and your same goal is $1 million today, look, your goal setting screwed up. The calculator that you're putting your data into has got misinformation. And this is validated by what is going on with the middle class right now. The middle class is failing in North America because it set goals based on just enough. The middle class is not failing because of politics. The middle class is failing because it is setting targets and goals based on just enough money, just enough income, just enough savings, just enough time off, just enough one flow of income. Nobody can operate on one flow of income. It is impossible. You cannot show me one wealthy person that has ever used one flow. Apple Computer doesn't use one flow. They have iPhone 4, 3, 2, 5. They got iPods. They got iPads. They got computers. They never depend on one flow. And people should not. People need to get their targets up, okay, way up to where you're excited. So when I listen to very successful people, Sean, they don't talk about work. They talk about how excited they are. But they're working 6 hours longer than most people.
And it doesn't feel like work, right? It's not even work.
Most people are working only enough that it feels like work. And why does it feel like work? Because you're not winning enough. Anybody can do this. Look, I've been at a place where I was not winning in my life, and I started winning when I added time to my schedule, effort to my schedule. I started doing some things outside the box, and I'm like, man, this is easy. It's so much easier. Actually, I'm going to tell you this, a little secret I know. It's easier to get rich than it is to stay poor.
Wow.
Both take effort, both take energy. I'll even tell you this, it's easier to make $10 million than it is $100,000.
Well, I subscribed on Twitter. I said, when you tweeted out that your success Cardone millionaire package, I tweeted out, I said, I'm going to be the first Cardone millionaire. And I put that on Twitter and I made that claim. And so you're going to help me get to that 10 million more than that 100,000.
Yeah. So, and that's part of the 10X rule. If your target's $1 million, if I sit down with a guy and you come to my ideal workshop and you sit down with me and we spend 3 days there, whatever your target is, I'm going to take and simply multiply it times 10. So if you want to be worth 10 million, I'm going to say, no, let's change that to 100 million and build a plan to get to 100 so we can guarantee the 10.
Perfect. Now I hear a lot of people say, especially in this stream, it's not all about the money. It's not all about the this. It's not all about the that. Why are you so focused on the money? And I've heard you talk about, why you talk the way that you do, because certainly I read in your book that you said your goals must be aligned with what you called higher purposes. Maybe you can expand on that a bit.
Yeah, dude, look, here, the guy that says, Grant, why do you talk about money so much? Or, money's not everything. He's the one that's confused, not me. Because I agree. Look, money is not a motivator for me, okay? I have some in my pocket right now. It doesn't do anything for me. I'm gonna see if I can find some. Yeah, here's some money, okay? It's in my pocket. Money is to be used, okay, not motivate me. I mean, it's a piece of paper. How could a piece of paper get me excited? Okay, like, oh man, my driver's license is going to get me excited. Dude, that's crazy. Now, that being said, okay, if you have a mission or a purpose or some goal that's really, really important to you, pick it. You want to build a new church in your community. You want to raise $50 million for homeless people. You want to raise $50 million. You want to feed all the people in the world that are starving. Hey, it's going to take money. Okay? See, most people have these as different. Money's a topic. Family's a topic. They're not even different to me. They have, man, my family is my family, and I need money to take care of them. I also need money to create enough freedom for myself so I can spend time with them. If my little girl wants to spend time with me, I have to figure out creative ways to do that. And I go to the bike store when I get to Miami, and I buy one of these beach bikes, and it's $350. And then they're going to add the ringer and the reflector and the little basket, and I got to put her in the back, and now it's $400 or $500. I want to have the money to buy the bike so I can spend time with my daughter.
Absolutely.
And then I need enough money coming in so I can actually spend time with her, quality time, so I'm not angry and frustrated with her because she's trying to take time from me because I'm worried about my business.
And I think that's certainly a plague that a lot of us in sales, in the sales game, find ourselves in. We work so hard in the office or on the road trying to make that sale, trying to make that connect, filling the pipeline and closing the deals, that we forget about all these other things that actually make us happy. How do you balance things, Grant?
Well, that's a great question. The first thing I do is I do not. I had this conversation with Tony Robbins' group. They were looking at having me on one of their deals, and they're like, dude, we're just a little. Dude, I never try balance. I'm not interested in balance. Balance is a compromise. Balance assumes that you can't have everything. So when I start balancing stuff, I'm like, I need to balance. I don't know. I don't have anything to like this. This is my family over here, and this is my work over here. When I balance it, it means I have. Why not have them just both blow up? I don't want to balance. It's like time management. I've never understood the concept of time management. Why would I want to manage time? You want to manage it or create it?
What would you do in return instead of managing time? What would you do?
I would create more.
How do you do that?
Well, there's simple ways. I could get up early. I could get up earlier. I could go to bed earlier. I could sleep less. I could hire people. So I can hire Jared. All of a sudden I got 40 hours more a week, or maybe 50 hours if he's the right guy. If he's the right guy, I probably get 80 hours out of him. See, rich people buy time. They don't worry about money. Look, rich people, and I'm back to money again, but the truth is rich people have a better quality of life. It doesn't mean they're happier, but dude, they got time. They have choices that the middle class is not having. And so, you see, if you ask a rich person, hey, what's more valuable to you, time or money? What's the answer?
Time. Exactly.
So they're like, hey, I'm going to start a company and hire 80 people. They just bought time. they traded money for time. And because they do that, they created time. They don't need to manage it. They get to go play golf now.
Interesting. Very interesting. So if I got really efficient at what I did, could I create time that way too?
You could, but yeah, you could. Okay. But if you watch me, if, you know, Sean, you've watched me quite a bit, like on Twitter and Facebook, you know, I've tweeted 24,000 times in 2 years. Those are my tweets. That's not, I didn't delegate that to Sai in my office.
Right.
That's not Armando doing it for me. And people are like, well, I can't find time to do that. This morning I've done a radio interview, my own radio show, the interview with you, and on the way home I'm going to be on the telephone, okay? So, you know, I buy the Bluetooth in my car. It costs me money to do that so I can make phone calls all the way home. I'm also spending time with my wife today because we're creating on this radio show together. So we're having time to be able to create. I get up 1 hour earlier when I have my daughter born. It changed my calendar, so my schedule. So I'm like, I got to get up an hour earlier because I want to spend time with my daughter, just me and her, not me, her, and the wife, because I want my own relationship with her. So it's like, I don't want to manage. I want to create. I don't want to manage people. I want to get great people that don't need to be managed.
And so it sounds to me like you're talking about, obviously, again, the level of action that you take, which you talk about in the 10X rule. And I was fascinated when I read that about the 4 different levels that you suggest are the 4 levels of action. And I was wondering if you might be willing to talk a little bit about that, because I didn't even realize, I thought I took a lot of action prior to reading your book. I was always sort of that you know, A-type all the way kind of person, although, you know, it took me 10 years to get to where I made contact with you. But with that said, I thought I was, but I was wrong. Maybe you could share what those 4 actions are, and how do you get to that level where you can make everything happen?
Okay, well, you have to confront the issue of action. Creating action, okay? And like, what is enough action? Well, the truth is most people relate how hard they work compared to other people. You know, they relate all their conditions to other people. So if you're relating to the neighbor that you live with that's not doing well, he's in foreclosure, you're like, oh man, I'm doing great. Well, I can make you look even better if we just, you know, compared you to somebody in India. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm a king.
Right.
You know, but if I relate you to other people in your sector, in your city, that have blown the top off. For instance, last night I met with the founder of Bisalis, okay?
Very successful company.
They're going to do, I don't know, they're going to do a couple $100 million this year. They come out of nowhere. 2009, they were almost done. They're blowing it up. I joined this company because of the people. I'm on their 90-day challenge.
Cool.
To lose weight, I want to get pretty, you know, like you. I want to get pretty.
How can people join your team if they want to?
Well, I'll get you a link later.
Okay.
But I'm doing it because of the people, and I like the products. I'm not really doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the people and the products. If I'm around great people, there's going to be money. And I met with the founder last night. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. So when I compare my income level or my style of living to theirs, I'm like, oh, wow, there's another level here. And there's another level above him. The 10X rule suggests that there's 4 levels of action. Zero activity. There are actually lots of people in America that don't do anything every day.
Are those the people that Mitt Romney were talking about yesterday?
No, actually, I got a different take on that. You know, Mitt Romney just didn't say it right.
Right.
You know, the substance of what he's saying is correct, because what he should have said is this: look, I want to get you out. I don't want you dependent upon the programs because they're busted and we can't keep paying for you.
Right.
Because they're not really there. They're myths. They're illusions. Barack wants you on the programs, and I want to get you off of them. And that's what he should have said.
Right.
But there's no action. Look, I've been in different periods of my life where I didn't do anything. Yesterday, I took a 2-hour nap. I didn't do anything. Okay? Then there's the guy that goes backward. He actually retreats. That's the second level of action. He retreats from activity. Now, this is very dangerous. We've all experienced it. Maybe you got slapped in the stock market, or you got slapped, beat down in the real estate market, and then that guy's like, I'm never doing this again. Or you were in a relationship, and it was a bad relationship, and the girl says, I'll never, ever, 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 ever date another guy again the rest of my life, okay? And you know what I'm saying? They're like, I'm done. I do. Yeah. Then there's a third level of action, which I say is the most dangerous, which is the one I think that you like really cognited on, like, oh my God, is that me? Which is the average or just above average normal levels of activity. You're doing your job, you're showing up, you're doing a lot of effort, you're doing the right things. The reason this is the most dangerous is because it's a bit of it's illusionary. It's a bit hypnotic because it's based on the norm. Well, look around, man. The tide is going out on the middle. Okay? You don't want to do normal. The right level of action is number 4, which is massive amounts of activity. The way you know if you're doing enough, do you remember this in the book, Sean?
You can tell me. No, I don't.
Okay, the way you know you're doing enough, the right level of action will always result in new problems.
Big problems. We want big problems.
If you don't have new problems, okay, new problems you're not familiar with, you're not used to these, you're like, oh my God, I got 3 appointments at 2 o'clock today, what do I do? Right. I got to jam all these things in. I got this call. If you don't have new problems, you're not taking enough action. If you got old problems that are familiar, that you've had before, you're not taking enough action.
Interesting. So I shouldn't be afraid of those problems. I should run towards them.
Do you want new problems? You want big, juicy, fat, interesting, overwhelming problems. You want $400 million worth of debt, not $4,000 worth of credit card debt. Because if you got $400 million worth of debt, now you got an interesting problem, and you probably got some partners.
And you'll have to take an appropriate level of action to solve them.
Yeah, but you're going to have some help because now the banks are interested in you. If you only owe $4,000, nobody cares about you. They'll throw you in the trash.
Absolutely. Grant, we're going to take some questions. You good with that?
Sure, buddy.
All right. So Ustreamer 793119 asks, what would be the first thing I need to do to start on the road to success?
Well, I that's a great question. I asked myself that at 25 years old, and because I was broke, I had no money. I owed the government money for college, which was a mistake for me. And I'm like, what do I have to do? Well, the first thing is you got to focus on success all the time. You need to surround yourself with success. Successful people, successful sayings, successful books. You need to do what Sean's doing. Sean, the last 10 years, you've surrounded yourself with positive. And I know people think, oh, man, look, this is why I went and hooked up with the Vasalis guys last night, okay? You know what? Because they're positive. They're winners. They're succeeding. They're going places. It's the reason I sit in first class on a plane. It's not just because of the leg room. Look, I'm not that tall. I don't need leg room. But who's in first class?
The winners.
Yeah, it's the reason when I go to a hotel, I don't mind paying another $300 a night. It's not because I have the money. It's because I might meet good people in that hotel. No offense, if you're staying at a Holiday Inn, you're just not going to meet players there. Right, you're going to meet people struggling. So I would just say surround yourself, okay? Spend your last dollar. Spend your last pennies getting around successful people. It might rub off.
Now that's interesting because you talk about in the book reaching up in relationships, and I've often thought to myself, if I'm trying to reach up in relationships, doesn't that say that the people that I'm in relationship with are no good? I mean, how does that translate?
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're no good, okay? But look, I believe that if you have the same friends your whole life, you're not growing. A guy brags to me, he's like, my buddy Ken, I've known him for 25 years, we grew up. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, Yeah, yeah. We met when we were 6 years old. I'm like, you got the same friend since you were 6 years old. I don't even know how to do that. Look, I don't want the same friends. I want new friends. I want new acquaintances. I want to tell my story to people that don't know me. I want 7 billion people to know me. I don't want the people I went to high school to know me. They already know me. You got to get out of your comfort zone right now. Right. And I'm saying reach up. Call Warren Buffett's office and figure out what you got to do to go have lunch with him. Find somebody in your sector that is a genius. Go reach out to them. Do what Sean's doing right now. Every week doing a radio interview. This is brilliant what you're doing, Sean.
Thanks.
You're getting exposure. You're getting exposed. You're going to get the flow of both people and their followers. I know what you're doing, player. Okay? But you're making the right moves. It's the right thing to be doing. So you want to reach up. It's why I tried to get a TV show and did. It's why I want a radio show syndicated. I got to get connected, which means I got to reach up to people I don't know. It's very uncomfortable for everyone. It's scary. It's scary for me. I know, Sean, that you do these things, but you're not all. You're probably sweating and worried about it and scared the night before. I know I am.
It's certainly on your mind, right? Because you got something to lose. There's no doubt.
Yeah. But do it anyway. Get uncomfortable. Do what you're scared of. Don't do what your parents said.
Interesting that you say that. I took your advice on Saturday and dropped myself into the middle of New York City and pounded the pavement for 4 days making connections because I was scared too and because it was uncomfortable. And I remember you said, I'm going to move to Miami and I have no idea where I'm living, no idea what I'm doing, and we're just going to do this and it'll be an adventure. And, creativity, because you say often, give your fear no time.
Yeah.
And creativity is found, at least I have found so far, in that space of just acting. Stop analyzing and just acting and do it. And I made some great connects in New York City over the last 4 days.
Yeah, fear lives off of time. And I know a lot about fear. I mean, literally between the ages of, 15 years old and till I was 35, I was plagued with fear every day of my life. It didn't matter how many speaking gigs I had. It didn't matter how well my company was doing or how much money I had in the bank. Actually, the more success I had, the more fear I experienced. And I've gotten that resolved in my life, but I'm not plagued by it anymore. But now what I do is I move to things that I'm not so scared of now. I am more just uncomfortable. And the more that I do, and the less time I add to the consideration, the less the fear controls me. Because it's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this thing with Fox TV? This was last Monday. Can you do this thing? Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. I just take all the time out of it. And then next thing I know, I'm getting on a plane. I literally don't have enough time to think about the transaction to get scared.
You said one time, say yes to everything, and I never forgot that.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to say,
right? Something like that?
I mean, everything ethical, I try to say yes to,
Sure, of course.
If it's not survival, if it's not ethical for me or my family or based on my own moral code, I'm not going to say yes to it. But I say yes to life. I say yes to living. I say yes to fear. I want to say yes to my wife and my kids. I don't think I can spoil my daughters because I tell them yes.
Amazing. And you also said, I'll say yes to everything until I have to say no, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I got this line with customers. Yeah, I never say no until I have to. I had an offer from a customer the other day. He's like, hey, will you do this and this? I said, you know what? I never, ever, this is pure sales, but I never say no until I have to, okay? And I didn't even have to finish it. He's like, all right, send me the contract over.
I love that. Now, we were talking about relationships and moving up or reaching up in relationships, and there was a Twitter question that came across. I want to read it to you. It says, tell me about how great it is to have haters. And I have found that when you move in relationship from one to the next, you often develop this hater thing. And I know you've got some takes on haters. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I got a big mouth, so I tend to say what I want to say. I figure, there's so many people on planet Earth. If you'd quit trying to appeal to the handfuls, you'd actually be free to say whatever you want. I don't need everybody to like me or my product. I just need a big percentage of them to. So it is my belief, just my personal experience in my own life, 25 years, 25 years, almost 30 years that I've been in business for myself, working for myself. I've started three very successful companies from scratch. I had one company fail. It's only until I get a lot of success that I actually started getting people's attention. 30 years, what I learned when I was 51 was actually I had worked hard enough, 10x the work. The think was missing. I should have been thinking bigger the whole time. This is if anybody wanted to learn from a failure that I've had, my thinking from when I was 25 years old should have been a lot bigger, because it's the same effort. When your thinking gets giant, you're gonna get haters. Not in the beginning, okay? But look, any great idea, I measure my goals today based on the opposition I get. Now, this is an important thing for your viewer to write down. I literally base my goals on how fast I pull in opposition. Because a worthy goal will be opposed by someone. Because a worthy goal should change things around you, right? If I change things around me, I'm going to affect somebody's comfortability. So, look, you got to get haters. You got to get them. If you're not getting haters, nobody knows you. They're not talking about you. You're not fulfilling your true potential. When you hit your full potential, Jesus had people that hated him so bad they nailed him to a cross, put crowns in on his head, and a sword through his body. Okay, and we're still talking about him 2,000 years later.
Indeed, I love that. Got a couple more questions here, Grant. Ustreamer526915 says, Grant, what is the thing which motivates you to get out of bed and work at the 10x level every day? This is from Sharma from India, watching live right now.
Yeah, Sharma. He called into our radio show last week. Thank you, Sharma.
There you go. He's a fan.
Really what I do is my schedules, I'm so committed to my schedule. I mean, this idea, I know this sounds completely stupid and ridiculous and there's no science behind it at all, but I commit to so much that I don't have a choice. I have to show up. I mean, I went to a dinner last night. I got these 3 gigs today. When I'm done with this, I'm looking right now, I have 28 emails I have to respond to. There's no white space on my calendar. I think a better question is, what causes people to be unmotivated and not operate at this childlike behavior? See, it's not normal to be lazy. I know when I first say this to people, they're like, what are you talking about, man? I know lots of lazy people. No. They weren't lazy when they were 4 years old or 3.
So true.
Okay? They're not. If a baby, even a 12-month-old baby, they sleep or eat, and that's it. But once they start crawling around and they're a year and a half old, dude, they're into everything. Everything's interesting. They're into everything. If they're not sleeping, they're full out. That's the human condition that fast forward 30 years has been distorted by miseducation. So look, if I didn't have a body, okay, I would think I'm like 8 years old. So I just go from activity. You know, me and my wife keep encouraging one another. I don't know if you saw that video my wife did the other night celebrating this.
Yes, I did. Yes, I love the dance. Elena always brings it.
Man, she can bring it, buddy. And every spouse should see that video. It's called How to Support Your Spouse and Grant Cardone. I shared some good news with my wife. I'm actually starting another business right now around real estate. And she breaks out into this dance. See, that's the kind of stuff you need around you to keep throwing wood on the fire that I talk about in the 10X rule. So this fire gets giant. out of control, not a little fire. Get a big fire, man, that people want to sit around and watch.
And then find the haters getting burned up as a result, right?
You know somebody's going to come in and say, you're not permitted for that fire. Somebody's going to come in and say, that fire's too big. It might be your mom or your dad. It might be somebody, you might be the person you sleep with every night. Oh no, pull that fire down. Look, you either need to get that person handled. You need a big fire, folks. You need a giant fire, okay? And you either need to get your spouse handled, get them on the same team, or you need to get them handled.
Absolutely. Now, you talked a little bit about, I watch your show often, as you know, and you were talking about the middle class and the middle class squeeze you talk about in your book. In fact, you later call it a middle class hammer, and what the middle class needs to do to get their revenue up. Now, I know a lot of people that work really hard at one job, and I've heard you talk about why they might want to have a second. Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, you know, what I would tell you is that everybody needs to produce more revenue. I don't care what Susie Orman tells you or your financial planner tells you about finances. Susie Orman has multiple flows of income. She is not just dependent upon her CNBC income. She's got multiple books. She's got all kinds of flows of income. But she's going to tell you that the way to get rich is to save money. It's not true. No one gets rich saving money. They die with money that's saved. My father saved every penny, okay? He died. He bought his dream house. 9 months later, died. He had an insurance policy that protected the family. He never even got to enjoy his money. My mother would then spend the next 35 years, unbelievable. Both my parents love them to death. She saved every penny, clipped the coupons, okay? She actually got through all the years of problems, put three boys through school. When she died, she had $100,000 or something in a bank account. How's that living?
Yeah.
So look, you don't save to wealth, okay? You create wealth. That means the first line on an income statement is revenue. It's not expenses. It's revenue. Economies are driven by the creation of revenue. Households and their finances are driven by the creation of revenue. Now, I consider myself extremely well versed in sales, but the thing people don't know is I'm probably better at finances than I am at sales. I love finances. I love to understand money, where it comes from, what happens, where to put it. That doesn't mean I don't make bad investments. I don't make bad decisions. But where I make bad investments is where I don't understand something.
Right.
People don't have money because they don't understand money.
Is there a reference guide or a book that you would recommend that people could read immediately and have a better understanding about finances and money?
The first thing I would do is I've written a bunch of articles on the middle class and what the middle class can do, because these articles are written right now, not 25 years ago. Look, there's so much outdated content out there, Sean, it's unbelievable. You know, in Canada, I think the financial planner in Canada suggests 3 months of savings. Is that about right?
That's correct, yeah.
That suggestion, just so you know, was born out of the 1920s. That it's over 80 years old. The reason 3 months is the reference is because the average time of unemployment was 90 days. Unemployment in the United States today is 11 months.
Wow. So,
you know, if you got 3 months and you're out of work for 11, dude, you're 8 months out of money. Now you're on food stamps.
That's not a good thing for anybody.
Yeah, now and also you're out of the job market for so long. You look like you disappeared. You look like a Michael Nass guy that just disappeared, went off the radar screen.
That's funny. Now, you also talk about the difference between having a savings plan and having a financial plan for your family. And I really like some of the things that you talked about, because it's more than just savings and where to put your money. Could you share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, good. First, there's revenue, okay? Like if I needed another flow of income, I could go be, I couldn't be a handyman because I don't know anything about handyman, but I could go do babysitting. I love kids. I could go do babysitting and earn another $20 or $40 a night, 2 hours, $40 a night. That's $280 a week. If I work every day times 4, that's another $1,200 a month. That's $14,400 a year. I just increased my income. That's the first thing everyone should do. Be a handyman, be a masseuse. I know masseuses that make 150 grand a year. They paid 500 for the certificate.
Yeah.
They're great. They're great. They're personable. People like them. You know, they do all the right things. I know other masseuses that don't make any money. First thing. Second thing is, man, look, the second thing is get rid of your credit cards, okay? These cards, these are stupid. The only people making money off the credit cards are the credit card companies. If you can't pay it off each month, don't use the card. The only way I use a credit card is to be a report of money I spent. The American Express loses money on me. Okay? And they lose money on me because, one, I lose their card and they got to replace it every month. They got to send me a new card. And number two is they do all my reporting for me, and at the end of the month, I pay them off. Same thing with Visa. They don't make money on me. I never pay a credit card. I won't pay a bank for a checking account. I've never used an ATM in my life. I don't even have an ATM code. And so the viewer might say, oh, easy for you, Grant. No, it's not easy for me. It's not. I just refuse to deal with the devil. Look,
the devil in the bank or the devil in your schedule?
Both. These are evil. You want to meet the devil, go get a credit card. If he doesn't show up then, just don't do anything for a couple of days. He'll come find you. The third thing I want to do is I want to reduce my spending. I want to get my spending. I want to get all the stupid stuff out of my spending. I still do this today. So I'll look at what I spent last month. Maybe I spent $1,000. I want to take $200 out of that. I want to find the stuff that's dumb. You know, on a scale from 1 to 5, okay? 5, I got to have it. 1, it's ridiculous. 2 is dumb. 3, yeah, maybe. Okay, get rid of your 1s and 2s. You'll save 20% overnight. And then I want to take that 20% and I want to get that 20% invested in something that's going to inflate over time.
Would you invest in yourself?
Oh, first thing I'll always invest in. I'll invest in me before. I spent 3 years shopping real estate in Houston, Texas every weekend. Never bought a piece of property. I spent tens of thousands of dollars and time and energy in shopping properties over and over, looking at performance, looking at properties, finding out why. Never bought anything for 3 years. Moved to San Diego. Thought all the time and money and energy I had invested was wasted, but I had so much knowledge and confidence when I got to San Diego, I was able to start buying things.
That's one of your businesses, is it not?
Yeah, that's definitely one of my businesses.
And would you recommend the real estate industry business as one of those revenue streams that you talk about?
I would tell people that there is only one great investment in America today, and maybe the whole world. And that great investment is something that's simple, something that will inflate over time, particularly if there's inflation. Number 3, somebody else pays the debt. And number 4, there's income from. That only thing that you control will inflate. You pay down, somebody else pays the debt and throws off income is multifamily apartments. Not a house. I would not buy a house. I don't own a house right now. I rent a place to live. And I wouldn't buy office buildings because of the internet's presence. That's going to change office. There's going to be a lot of vacancy. I would never buy a house. I mean, the house thing's just stupid. Nobody makes money on a house. I know your viewer right now is shaking their head like, what are you talking about? I could prove to you. We don't have time to do it right now. I wouldn't buy land. I would buy apartments that, if they don't inflate, I have debt on them, and that debt will be paid down by the renters.
And so eventually becomes capital once that's paid.
Well, I won't buy anything that doesn't throw off cash flow in day one.
Yeah. What's
Like
your
I'm buying
cash
a
flow
whole.
ratio that you use typically?
Say again.
What is the cash flow to rent ratio that you use? So how
I'm
much would
looking.
you pull out
Yeah,
of a unit?
depending on the property, the newer the property, the lower the payout's going to be. But I'm looking for an 8 to 10% payout, cash on cash after everything, expenses, debt, everything. Which might not seem like a lot, but the reality is that is like 20 times more than a bank's paying you right now.
And what's the market paying right now?
Nothing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Wonderful advice. Amazing advice. I wanted to talk a little bit in selling about the second sale, because you taught me about the second sale years ago, and I read it again in If You're Not First, You're Last, as well as Sell or Be Sold, and you call yourself the second sale master, and I'm not going to disagree with you. But maybe you could share with the audience a little bit about the second sale and why it's so profitable.
Well, we make this big segue from multifamily to selling, right? But the truth is, there's not really a segue there, okay? I'm thinking about second sale right now and how I'm working this real estate portfolio. I'm purchasing this real estate portfolio. And I'm in Los Angeles at the time. I'm buying the apartment. I'm trying to buy apartments in Florida, 1,000 units. It's a portfolio. There's 35 other bidders. Now, I could tell you this story. I did it in Charlotte. I'm going to do it in Daytona Beach. I did it in Austin, Texas last year. I'm calling from out of state into markets to buy this property. There's 35 other bidders. All 35 have money. Okay? This is a big monster deal. All 35 other companies I'm competing against. Does that sound like selling?
No.
Yeah.
You want to dominate your market, Grant.
Okay. So what I did was I basically did some things that I talk about in the 10X rule. Thank you. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, brother.
I did some things in the 10X rule to separate myself from the 35, to make myself omnipresent with the other 35, okay? It got down to 3 buyers. I was one of the 3, okay? I did these unbelievable little tricks with video that I talk about in the 10X rule. I still did not get picked. I called the guy up. You have made a mistake. Okay, you picked the wrong company. Grant, they outbid you by $4 million. I said, I promise you, it was a mistake. I told you going in I wouldn't be the highest bidder. I'll be the only closer. Because they're concerned about how to close that deal, not how much money they get. Okay, so 2 weeks later he calls me up. Hey, do you still want the deal? I said, yeah, I want the deal. Okay, I got the deal, and we went back in. After I got control of the deal, I renegotiated the price further down from where we were at. Now, if this sounds like, oh, it's manipulation, it's trickery, no. There has to be a reason for the second sale. There has to be a reason for the proposal, for the counter, for a reason to add wheels to this. I sold the guy the RV. He bought the RV. He loves the RV. He bought the downgraded model. He said he couldn't afford more than that. Once he makes a decision to purchase, he is now susceptible to the upgrade to the nicer kitchen or the nicer pullaways or whatever it is. It's only until somebody buys something once that they'll accept the second and third purchases. They'll scream over price for hours, make a decision, and then in seconds change their mind and spend more money. But most salespeople do not know about the second sale. Hey, most salespeople have never read more than one book on selling. That one chapter, Sean, that chapter and the chapter, The Price Myth, have been lifesavers for professional salespeople.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the price myth, because that's where I was going next. You talk about the $30 book, and you talk about the price myth, and I was hoping that you could share this. I've had this conversation over my dinner table with friends, and we've debated, and certainly they've come to see your way of thinking, which certainly has influenced my way of thinking. But maybe you could share what that $30 book and the price myth versus value proposition is, and maybe shed some light and insight for our viewers.
I was at the airport at Dallas. Oh, Michael Nassland, the nasty boy on Twitter. Michael Nass. I was in Dallas, rolling through Dallas. I was doing actually meeting with a literary agent for this book called The Middle Class Get Out. And while I was going through the book, to the terminal at American Airlines, I went into the bookstore to see if my book was there. And sure enough, the 10X Rule's in there. And there's a guy, in fact, he looked a little like you, Sean, pretty like you, had the cool shades on, always wore the nice jacket, looking professional. And this cat takes the 10X Rule, looks at it. I got his attention. The book cover got his attention, and he turns it over. What's he looking at?
You.
No, when he turns it over, what's on the back of it?
Oh, what other people are saying about your book.
Or what else could he be looking at?
What's the book about?
What else?
The heck is a 10X Rule?
No, what else?
You.
No, he's looking for the price.
Oh, the price. I know.
When a book buyer turns a book over, they're looking for the code, and it's going to say $29.95 on that book, and that's what they're looking at.
No price on this one because it didn't matter to me.
Okay. Well, there's probably something in the code. It says $29.95 right there. Anyway, when the guy turned the book over, I said, "Sir, you're not buying it because of the price. You're buying it because of the content." And he's like, "Well, who are you?" I said, "I wrote the book, dude. There's $1 million in that book." Okay? Whatever your dreams are, I can multiply your dreams times 10x and guarantee you're going to get them. That's what's in that book. And he's like, "Hey, will you sign it?" I said, yeah, I'll sign it, man. I already had my Sharpie out ready to sign it, right? See that? People don't buy something. If he gives $30 for the book, and he went to the register and paid $30. Oh, by the way, then he bought a stick of gum for $2. Then he bought some licorice for another $4.
Third sale.
Okay? He's going to eat the licorice on the plane. He's going to lose the gum. Okay? Then he buys his daughter a $39 little stuffy bear. She's going to throw it away or lose it. He's going to be left with this book. Okay? The guy spends $120. $30 of it was my book. There's the second, the third, and the fourth sale. Why did he pay $30 for my book?
Because it was worth more.
It's got to be worth more. Most people do not answer this right, though. They think, oh, the book was worth $30 to him. No, it wasn't. It was worth more than 30. Or his 30 is not worth anything to him anymore. One of the two. Nobody gives you 30 grand or 300 grand or 3 million because they think it's worth that. I don't buy a condo for 300 grand or rent it for 20,000 a month or whatever the deal is because I think it's worth that. It must be worth more than the financial commitment I made.
Right.
Or I wouldn't do it. Nobody does it unless it's worth more.
Now, Grant, we've got 1 minute left, and I want to talk about what you've got coming up next. Where could viewers see you if they wanted to come see you live, and what projects do you have coming out shortly that we can continue to grow and learn from Grant Cardone?
Well, you can always follow me, Grant Cardone, at my blog. I write a blog every single day. Once a week, I send out a business expansion and sales strategy once a week. You can go to cardonesuccess.com, put in your first name, last name, and your email. I'll send you that free. I got, 900 videos posted on YouTube. I'll be speaking. Where am I speaking this month? You know, Elena? I don't even know. It's on my calendar, grantcardone.com. I do a radio show every week, Sean. It's on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. and then Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They can go to the cardonezone.com. And, dude, if that's not enough, let me just hammer you on Twitter every day. That's all my tweets. There's nobody else tweeting that but me. Go to @GrantCardone on Twitter. Sean, well, you've done unbelievable, by the way.
Thank you. You are the #1 sales expert on Twitter, and I've been trying to model you.
Say it.
The #1 sales expert on Twitter, Grant Cardone.
Yeah, but say what you were going to say, which is you're number 2.
I was not going to say that. I'll let you tell them that.
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job, and you're providing people with great information. But just remember, Sean, if you're not first,
Very good. I like that very much. Grant, it has been an absolute honor to have you on the show. I know that this has been tremendous for me and all of our viewers. I cannot thank you enough, and I hope that this will be the most viewed show, Moffett Message Live ever, and 600,000 is the record, so I'm sure we'll get over 1 million on this one.
Nice. Sean, thank you so much. Appreciate what you're doing, and I just want to tell everybody out there, man, look, you can do more than you're doing. Your challenges are unique to you. They're yours, okay? Don't throw them away like they're trash, okay? They're yours, and they're going to bring the greatness out in you. Don't let somebody else solve your problems. That's where you're going to find the greatness in you. We all have it. Live up to your potential, not up to somebody else's quota.